this video, I will show you how to initialize and enable CageFS for a user to allow him to use PHP Selector in cPanel. A user can see such a message in his PHP Selector interface on cPanel when CageFS is disabled. Let's see what an administrator should do to solve this issue. We are going to an administrator PHP Selector interface. Here you can see the Use PHP Selector button to make a domain to be managed by the Cloud Linux PHP Selector. But first, let's look at the PHP info page for this domain. Here you can see that the domain uses EA PHP version 7.2. We will come back to this page at the end of the video to see what will be changed. Now, let's go to the Domains tab in the Administrator interface and find the user's domain. But you can see a tooltip above the Use PHP Selector button, which means that the administrator cannot activate Cloud Linux PHP Selector for this domain if CageFS is not initialized. To initialize CageFS, go to the Options tab and find the CageFS section. Here you can see the Init button. Click the Init button to start CageFS initialization. This process can take some time. You can see how initialization is running. Now, the initialization completed. Let's return to the Selector tab and make the domain to be managed by the Cloud Linux PHP Selector. Let's go to the Domains tab and find the user. Here you can see one more tooltip that CageFS is not enabled for that user. To enable CageFS, go to the Users tab and find the user in a list. To enable CageFS, just move a slider and click Confirm. Activation is going quickly. And now CageFS is enabled. Let's go back to the Selector tab, to the Domains subtab. Here you can see that there are no more tooltips and you can click the Use PHP Selector button. Click Confirm in the pop-up to make the domain to be managed by the Cloud Linux PHP Selector. Waiting for uploading. If you hover a pointer over the user in the Handled By column, you can see that now it is managed by the Cloud Linux PHP Selector. In the Version column, you can see the PHP version. The version is 5.3 because the user set it in his user interface. Now, let's go to the User PHP Selector interface. Loading. Hover the pointer over the Handled By column. You can see that the user's domain now uses Cloud Linux PHP Selector. In the Version column, you can see that the PHP version is 5.3. In the Current PHP version line, you can see a version to be set by default. Here, the version is 5.3. A user can change a version here. Now, let's see what is changed in the PHP info for this domain. After the page reloading, you can see that PHP version is 5.3. In the Configuration File Path line, you can see the Alt PHP 5.3 entry. You can see that EA PHP 5.3 was replaced by the Alt PHP 5.3. The domain is now managed by the Cloud Linux PHP Selector and the PHP version was changed. Thanks for watching. See you again!